The goal of Expedition to Zanthalar is to be the first adventurer to reach 10 expedition points using gold as well as the game's 200 different cards with 7 different card types. The game is played with these 6 card types placed in 2 rows. Each player's turn plays out like this. At the beginning of a player's turn, they gain 20 gold, then draw and play a quest card. Then they spend gold to buy cards or expedition points, take an action by playing a card, and receive the chance to discard a card in hand for 30 gold at the end of their turn. The final card type in the game is the class card. You'll pick one of these cards at the start of the game to customize your game plan.
In the gameplay video I'll be showing you today, Player 1 will be playing the Bard class, and Player 2 will be playing the Prophet class.
The Bard will start her turn by drawing a quest and gaining 30 gold instead of 20 as a result of being a Bard. Her quest is High Roller, which gives a player 50 gold for rolling dice. She buys and draws 2 trade cards in her spending phase. Then, as an action, the Bard plays Fiery Sword, a card that requires rolling dice and grants 3 expedition points if a player rolls high enough. The Bard rolls a 6, completes her quest to gain 50 gold, and gains 3 expedition points. With only the bartering phase remaining on her turn, the Bard chooses to discard a card for 40 gold instead of 30 and passes the turn. The Prophet starts his turn by playing double profits and by gaining 20 gold. He thinks for a moment and decides not to buy any cards due to a plan to complete his quest. He plays Historic Scepter, a card that triggers events and would allow the Prophet to use his ability. In response to this action, the Bard plays Illusory Distraction and steals the Historic Scepter from the Prophet. In doing so, the Bard gains an expedition point and triggers an event. The event is Bear Attack, which forces the Bard to discard 2 cards. The Prophet, now at the end of his turn, chooses a card from his hand to discard and gains 30 gold. This puts him at exactly 50 gold, which completes his quest and grants him 50 more. The Bard starts her turn with 30 gold and the quest that was easy. In her spending phase, she buys 1 destination card for 80 gold and a reaction card for 20. Destinations come into play when drawn and stay in play for the rest of the game. This destination is Watchtower. With it, the Bard can look at each other player's hand and the top card of every deck at any time. She looks at the Prophet's hand and checks the top card of the trade deck as a huge grin appears on her face. She plays Elixir of Charisma. The Prophet, feeling desperate, responds with Transmutation in an attempt to stop the Bard's plan and give her a different treasure to play. As a response, the Bard plays Safe Passage, preventing Transmutation's effect and allowing her to draw and play Shroud of Shadows, the trade card she had previously looked at. Now she cannot be the target of opposing effects, spelling trouble for the Prophet. The Bard completes her quest and passes the turn. The Prophet starts by playing Wandering Nomad, a quest with a big payoff but a hard requirement. He spends gold to buy a treasure and an expedition point in his spending phase. In his action phase, the bard decides to play Ancient Map, allowing him to play a destination of his own. This one is Gladiator's Arena, which gives the bard an additional action phase each turn. He decides to trigger an event with his second action, and, due to being a prophet, he looks at the top 2 events. He chooses to play Long Journey, allowing him to complete all of his quests. He completes Wandering Nomad, gains 120 gold, and ends his turn.